task was to produce the opening sequence to a film which was to last no more than 2 minutes and had to display the skills that we've learnt in media this year. My group decided to create the opening to a comedy film called Remember When. The film follows the reunion of two childhood friends who haven't seen each other since they were teenagers. The two women were best friends as children, but when one family moves away and they lose touch, their lives head in very different directions. One of the women gets herself in trouble both financially and socially, and so turns to her now rich and successful ex-best friend for help. The reunion is not a smooth one, and we see the hilarious turn of events as the girls eventually rebuild a friendship with very different dynamics to that of their teenage years. In our opening, we decided to show a flashback to the girls' teenage friendship. The scene is a montage of the two of them enjoying several different scenarios typical of teenage friendships, such as baking together, watching a film, messing about at home, that kind of thing. We chose to represent this scene as it gave us an opportunity to be creative without being tied down to a structured narrative. We were able to experiment with several locations, shots and editing styles that we would not have been able to utilise if the narrative was a linear one. We chose to produce a film that fit the genre of comedy, and I believe our piece fits the conventions of this genre quite closely. Comedic films have light-hearted plots which are designed to amuse the audience, and this is often achieved by exaggerating the situation and the characters and their relationships, both of which we do in our opening. Nearly all of the activities the characters take part in contain some form of slapstick comedy, such as chasing an escaped dog, engaging in a food fight, or falling off of a bed. This encourages the audience to relax and laugh along with the film, gratifying them in terms of both escapism and entertainment. One way in which our film challenges the normal conventions of a typical media product is the lack of diegetic sound. Most films, especially those of the comedy genre, rely on dialogue and sound to create amusing moments and engage their audience. However, we decided that we wanted to remove all dialogue from the shots and replace this with an upbeat acoustic soundtrack that fit the tone we wanted to create. We made this decision because we wanted to remove any underlying character subtext created by conversation and allow the audience to focus solely on the innocence and fun of the teenage friendship. The song we chose to recreate is Never Forget You by Noisettes. The lyrics of this song relate to the reunion of old friends, and so this fits our piece quite well, giving it a deeper meaning and actually foreshadowing what's to come for the characters in the rest of the film as well, because as we know, they get split up. Because our piece is the opening of a film, we use a lot of camera angles that establish character and setting, such as long shots, two shots and mid shots. This, along with the previously mentioned lack of dialogue, again lets the audience familiarise themselves with the tone of the piece and recognise the genre. This is unusual, as most films use a variety of shots to show different aspects of character and narrative. We wanted to give this narrow view to the beginning of our film so that the sudden tone change when the girls reunite is emphasised and does actually surprise the audience. The key social groups that we represent in our piece are teenagers and females. We meet many common stereotypical representations of these groups within the piece because the genre of comedy is intended to be familiar and relatable for the viewer, and the common representations support this reception. One stereotypical representation of teenage girls is that they're giggly, happy-go-lucky, and our characters display these attributes in the way they behave. Teenage girls are often seen to form close relationships with other girls, and this is very apparent in our piece. Through the use of mise-en-scène, it's clear to see their bond through their body language, which is close and comfortable, and their locations, such as bedrooms and living rooms, which are personal and intimate. And the tone of their interactions is affectionate and light-hearted as well, so that also supports their relationship. This complements the comedy genre as it's relaxing for the audience to watch, and also helps the intended audience to relate to the piece as it gratifies them emotionally. Our media product is aimed at a young female audience of ages 15 to 25. This audience is the most likely to be interested in viewing our piece because of the relatable characters, the simple yet entertaining narrative, and the familiar themes within the film. Some people go to the cinema to be challenged or to be made to consider deeper meanings in the subtext or the narrative, but with this chick flick comedy genre, viewers simply want to be entertained and to enjoy the film. This is a form of escapism for the viewers, and it's the kind of film that you go to see with your female friends and your best mates, so that kind of relaxes the audience. We used aspects of the mise-en-scène to draw in our audience. One example would be the natural and time-appropriate lighting used in each scene, such as the dim, dark light in the film where the girls watch the horror film together, or the bright kitchen light when they're baking. This natural lighting choice gives the setting a commonplace, domestic feel which the audience can associate with. It suggests to the audience that the film will be clean and simple and easy to follow, as the comedy genre so often is. This film is likely to be distributed by a British independent company, as it is these types of institutions that usually distribute smaller budget independent films, and that's what Remember When is. One example of a distributor who will be ideal for the distribution of our piece is British company Studio Canal. They have been involved in the circulation of many independent British films, such as Shane Meadows' This Is England, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, and The Awakening, which have all been successful in the world of independent film. Through the production of our film opening, both myself and the rest of my group have become much more comfortable and confident using the camera and other pieces of equipment. Our range of camera shots and angles have become more genre appropriate since the preliminary task, as we have concentrated on the effect the shots have to narrative and character, rather than attempting to try to use many different types as we did before. This, along with our simple cut transitions, has given our second product a much more professional and clean edge. On our preliminary task, I believe we were let down by the quality of sound recording for the dialogue, so for this task we decided to try something completely different, as I've mentioned before, having no diegetic sound. This may seem like a bit of a cop-out, but as well as playing to our strengths, it also is something a little bit different that's not often seen in other media products that we wanted to try. Because we've had no diegetic sound, we worked hard to create a recording that was unique and different to our piece, and it was very satisfying going through all the stages of creating our own recording and hear it edited into the piece, and I was very pleased with the final result. We've also got to use iMovie more effectively in our film opening than we did in our preliminary task. We used it to create our own introduction to the film, our own unique opening title sequence, and also to add credits naming our cast and crew. We experimented with the speed of some shots to give the piece a fun, quirky spin, and also added zoom to bring the audience into the story and the girls' mischief. We did encounter some issues with our editing, such as continuity errors and smudge lenses. We went out to film and it was raining, and we got a smudge lens, which was a nightmare. But with some perseverance and some use of editing software like cropping and flipping shots and adjusting colours and highlights, we were able to overcome the issues to create what I believe is a really successful product and something that myself and the rest of my group are really proud of. Thank you for listening, and I hope you really enjoy watching Remember When, because we've worked really hard on it and it's been a really rewarding and enjoyable experience.